NFL Week 18 is here, and there are playoff berths on the line. A big week coming up. Some meaningless games, but a bunch of big games as well, where teams will punch their tickets, win divisions, and some teams will be going home for the rest of the season. It's hard to believe that we are already here, though, in Week 18. That means the playoffs is next week, and next week is just an awesome week for football fans. Thursday night, you got Penn State, Notre Dame. Friday night, you got Ohio State, Texas. Then Saturday, you got wild card games. Sunday, you got wild card games. And Monday night, you got a wild card game as well. Just an awesome week of football coming up, and it'll all be decided based off of what happens this weekend. But Kev, Week 18 in the NFL, hard to believe we're here, but we're here. Playoffs soon. How are we? Welcome back, and ready to talk some ball.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this weekend. A lot of good games, and I think obviously the Vikings-Lions game being the big headliner.
Yeah, Sunday night, the final game of the season. That's awesome. Decide the one seed, decide the winner of the NFC North. Hey, if you're a Lions fan, you just got to be sick just kind of thinking about that, though. Like, you've been the most dominant team pretty much in the league the whole year. I know the Chiefs have a better record, but just watching the games, the Lions have been so dominant all season, and now there's a chance that they might not even get the one seed after basically having it the entire year. Just a crazy year, and it goes to show you, it gives credit to the Vikings as well for the year that they've had. But yeah, big day on Saturday. Not our usual 5 games. We got a bunch of games in here. Any games that could potentially impact playoff seeding or who makes the playoffs included this week. We'll go through all the scenarios for those games as well. But we start on Saturday. We got 2 nice games on Saturday. The AFC North will be decided on Saturday, and potentially the wild card as well, with 2 teams potentially going from the AFC North. But the first game is the Browns at 3-13. They'll travel to Baltimore to play the 11-5 Ravens. 4:30 kick on ESPN. Ravens 18-point favorite, over under 41.5. Bailey Zappi will be starting this weekend for the Cleveland Browns. Goes to show you the year that they've had for him to be starting. They didn't even know he was on the roster. But the scenario for this game, Baltimore clinches the AFC North and the number 3 seed with a win or tie, or a Steelers loss or tie, and they play later. So Ravens, basically, they're just looking to find a way to win this game. They get the AFC North, and they'll get the 3 seed.
Yeah, I'm going Ravens winning pretty big, 27-6. So Ravens cover that massive 18 and under 41.5. Coming into this game, I thought it was going to be DTR again. Bailey Zappi, not sure, or I actually know it's probably not going to make a difference, but neither of them are probably NFL starting QBs, or maybe even shouldn't be backups. The Browns also have a ton of other injuries, and given that there's nothing to play for, I doubt any of them play. That means no Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, David Njoku, Jerome Ford, Jordan Hicks, and others. The Ravens are also just clearly the better team. I think they wrap up the AFC North with a win here. It's also Lamar's last chance to make his case for a second straight MVP and 3rd overall. So I'm going Ravens winning pretty big.
Yeah, I think the Ravens win this one big as well. Probably not something I'll touch on the betting market, just because we talked about at the beginning. The Ravens, all they need to do is win. And if they're up big at halftime, I could see them kind of pulling some starters potentially. So not going to touch the 18, but I'll go Ravens 31, Browns 3, Ravens minus 18, under 41.5. Was an interesting comment you made. Like, do they leave Lamar in to maybe juice up his numbers a little bit and increase those MVP odds? That's something to potentially monitor. But yeah, this Browns team are full quit mode. They're half the roster probably already has vacations booked for next week. This is a game where I think they're just going to show up and try and get it done with as quick as possible. So I think Ravens win this one pretty comfortably. Maybe if you're looking for a bet in this one, look at like the Browns team total under. I can't imagine them scoring much points on Saturday afternoon. All right, so we both have the Ravens winning there and going to the playoffs as the AFC North champ and the 3 seed. We go to the next AFC North game, where you have the Bengals at 8-8, playoff spot on the line at the Steelers 10-6, who are already clinched. 8:00 kick on ESPN. Bengals 2.5-point favorite here on the road, over under 48.5. Scenario for this game, we already talked about it, but the Steelers, they need to win, and they need the Ravens to lose for them to win the North. If not, they will be a wild card team. Bengals need some help, but it doesn't matter if they don't win on Saturday night. They got to win, and then they need a Denver loss and a Miami loss or tie. Those two teams are playing on Sunday. But Kev, do you think the Bengals do their job and get it done on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think the Bengals do end up winning this game 31-24. Bengals minus 2.5, over 48.5. The Steelers have really fallen off, and I think it continues here. While for the Bengals, Joe Burrow has been lights out. In the last 8 games, he's averaging 331 yards and over 3 TD passes a game. I expect Joe to play well and lead his team to the win. The Bengals, as you mentioned, are also going to need some help to get into the playoffs. And the Steelers have played playoff teams the last 3 weeks and have only averaged 13 points. They were able to hang 44 on the Bengals just over a month ago, but that seems to be like a major outlier for their season. Remove that game from the season, and the Steelers are only scoring 21 points a game. I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to match the Bengals, even though their defense is not good. But I just don't see them being able to beat the Bengals in a shootout twice in the same season and even in like the same months.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals as well. The Steelers team has really fallen off. They had that vibe kind of about them throughout the year where it was the Steelers even a few years ago. They started out like 10-0. It was like just really a good like 10-0 team. Like they're going to get exposed eventually, and that's what they've done. It's not a very talented roster, but a great coach in Tomlin. He's kept them afloat for most of the year, but they've kind of fallen apart. It seems like the offense is a bit broken right now. Russell has hit a bit of a wall since starting out hot. And the Bengals are maybe the hottest team right now. You can make an argument for it. I mean, they played really well on offense all year. They've just been terrible in close games, terrible on the defensive side, but a great game last week by Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. This team's got a lot of momentum right now. I'm going to take them to win and to cover. I'm going to go with the over, too. Never really like betting the over in a Steelers game, but the Bengals are probably the one defense that the Steelers could actually move the ball against and get some points. So I think that there is a little bit of points in this one. You get the over, and I will take Bengals minus 2.5. So Bengals do their job. They stay alive, and then praying for some help on Sunday. And the Steelers go into the playoffs at 10-7, one of the wild card teams, but not playing some good ball right now. All right, we go to Sunday now. NFC South will start with the Panthers at 4-12. Travel to Atlanta to play the 8-8 Falcons. 1:00 kick on CBS. Falcons come in as a pretty big 7.5-point favorite against a Panthers team that's played pretty decent over the past month. They got blown out last week by the Bucs, but over under 47.5 in this one. When you look at the scenarios for this game, the Falcons need a win or a win and a Tampa Bay loss to clinch the division. They can't get the wild card. So they need to win and hope the Buccaneers lose to the Saints. Do you think that the Falcons do their job here?
Yeah, well, I think they do their job. I know this game does have playoff implications, as you just laid out, but the Bucks are playing the Saints at home. I just don't see them losing that. But in this game, I don't think the outcome is going to super matter, as the Bucks, as I mentioned, will handle business. I'll go Falcons as they have something to play for, and the Panthers stink. So I'll just go Panthers 23 or Panthers 17, Falcons 23. Panthers cover the 7.5. They have been playing a little bit better lately, and the under at 47.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons win, but I will take the Panthers cover by the hook. I'll go 27-20, so plus 7.5 for the Panthers, under 47.5. I just don't think the Falcons are good enough to get this many points against anyone. I know the Panthers aren't some amazing team right now, but they have been playing a little bit better. And I think they're a team that, even with the 4-12 record, they've been playing hard. And you can see kind of the improvement over the kind of second half of the season, where at the beginning of the year, they were probably the worst team in the league. They've gotten better throughout the year. And it's a team that young head coach, young quarterback, they're definitely going to go out there, and try to build some momentum going into next year. And Falcons haven't looked great. Michael Penix just getting his feet wet in the league here. I think that the Falcons find a way to get it done at the end of the day and win, but I will take the Panthers to cover and keep this one within a touchdown. So give me Panthers plus 7.5, under 47.5. All right, NFC East game now. Commanders at 11-5 at the Cowboys 7-9. 1:00 kick on Fox. Commanders 5-point favorite. Over under is 43.5. Not going to get into all the seeding kind of back and forth with this one, but the Commanders are still playing for wild card seeding in this one. Are they the 5 seed, or are they the 6 seed? Are they the 7 seed? be dependent on the outcomes this weekend. But do you think that they get the win, Kev, and stay where they are?
Yeah, I have the Commanders winning by 10, 24-14, so they cover the 5, over 43.5. The Cowboys kind of waved the white flag for me when they shut CD down. I understand why they did it. There is also a ton of other Cowboys stars not playing in the season finale this week. The Commanders and Green Bay are fighting for the 6 and 7 seed. Jaden Daniels has looked a lot better recently after that midseason dip that was probably due to his rib injury. I think the Commanders do win here and hold on to the 6th seed in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Commanders to win as well. I really like the -5 here. It's a spread that kind of makes me think like, are they a team that plays their starters maybe the first half, scoreboard watches, and sees kind of from there? That's the only kind of thing hesitant with me. McCarthy said he doesn't even know who he's going to be starting at quarterback this weekend. But yeah, the Cowboys last week showed us what they should look like over these past few weeks without CD, without Dak, obviously, in that blowout to the Eagles. So I think the Commanders take care of business. I'll go 30-17. So Commanders -5 over 43.5. And Commanders, very impressive first year under Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, find themselves in the playoffs there in the wild card round. All right, Bears at 4-12 at the Packers 11-5. 1:00 kick on Fox. Packers 10-point favorite. Over under 41.5. Packers are playing for they win and the Commanders lose. I believe those two will flip spots. So I think the Packers are definitely trying to win to avoid the Eagles in this scenario. You think they win and cover against the lifeless Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I think they do win and cover 31-13 and the over 41.5 hidden. The Packers are a run first team with Josh Jacobs. Only the Eagles and Ravens run the ball more, and I think Jacobs can have a real nice day here against the Bears, and I think Jordan Love can just be efficient. The Bears just can't wait for the season to be over. I think the Packers do their job, but as noted when we talked about the last game, I think the Commanders end up winning, so the Packers end up with the 7 seed and will travel to the Link next week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that the Bears are kind of like the Browns, full on quit mode right now. Probably the thing that I'm going to look to bet this weekend as well. Bears team total under. Just this scenario where they want to get the hell out of here. They don't want to play in this cold weather game. I think the Bears are going to get blown off the field in this one. And the Packers beat up on them pretty well, 28-10. So I'll go Packers -10, under 41.5. All right, we go back to the NFC South now, where the 5-11 Saints travel to Tampa to play the 9-7 Bucks. 1:00 kick on Fox. Bucks -13.5, over under 43.5. Bucks win and in. They win the division. They lose. Falcons win. Falcons win the division, and the Bucks will be going home. Tampa Bay, another really impressive season from them. What do you think that the outcome this weekend, Kevin? And are they going to the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they are winning big here, 31-10, Bucks -13.5, under 43.5. Baker Mayfield just continues to be awesome, and the Saints stink. It's not more complicated than that. There are a lot of games this week that have playoff implications where the opponent is just a terrible team, and neither of us have picked an upset, and I feel like there's bound to be one, but I definitely don't think it's going to be this game, but we'll see if we do end up getting one this week.
Yeah, there's always some pretty wild chaos in this last week. Excuse me. And this year it's like different. Like I feel like usually it's more open for some spots, but a lot of teams are already locked in going into this week. So maybe, like you said, it's more of just a chalk week. But yeah, the Bucks have been on a roll, man. I mean, you said it best. Baker Mayfield has been awesome for about over 2 years now. He's been playing some really good football with Tampa Bay, and Mike Evans. Something to look for this week. He needs 85 yards for 1,000. He needs to get 1,000 yards to have 1,000 yards in every season that he's played. So I think that the Bucks are going to try and get him that mark, and yet again another 1,000-yard season. So maybe look at Mike Evans receiving yards as well this weekend. But I do like the Bucks to blow the doors off this really bad Saints team. 38-10. I'll go Bucks -13.5, over 43.5, and Bucks go to the playoffs and win the NFC South. All right, now we move to the 4:00 window. Chiefs 15-1 travel to Denver to play the 9-7 Broncos. 4:25 kick on CBS. Broncos 10.5-point favorite here, over under 40.5. You might be thinking why. Patrick Mahomes, and it sounds like a lot of other key Chiefs will be sitting out this week. Denver, a must-win spot for them. They are in with a win or a tie, or a Miami loss or tie, plus a Cincy loss or tie. So basically easiest path for the Broncos here. Just win, and they will be in and your last wild card representative in the AFC.
Yeah, I have the Broncos winning a close one, 23-20. So the Chiefs do cover the 10.5. They're getting over 40.5. The 10.5 seems like a lot for the Broncos over the Chiefs. I know Mahomes and a bunch of dudes aren't playing like you mentioned. Maybe it's just because I stupidly believe Wentz can somehow return to his 2017 self. But I think the Broncos do end up winning, but it's a lot closer than the line indicates.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to just like watch Wentz and see what he looks like in a full give him a full game under Andy Reid. That'll be an interesting watch. And I know some people have kind of like said it already, but Carson Wentz is going to be viewed as this off season potentially as like next year's Sam Darnold, and like can he go to just a quarterback friendly team, a well coached team, and revitalize his career? And these guys that have this kind of like recovery year, where like Darnold last year in San Francisco, you saw how much better he got, how much he improved. And was Wentz able to do that this year, learning from Mahomes and Reid? I'm interested to see how he looks, or if he's just his same old reckless self. But I am going to take the Broncos simply to win this week. But even with all the guys sitting out on the Chiefs, I think 10.5 is still too much. The Broncos are up and down, but the Chiefs are still good. Like that's just a team of winners. I don't think they're just going to completely roll over and fold. All their great players are sitting this one out, obviously, but I think that they're still able to keep this within the 10.5. So I'll go Broncos 24, Chiefs 14 to cover the 10.5 there, in the under a 40.5. But this one I'm going to have a close eye on. I'm interested to see how Wentz looks, and obviously see what the Broncos do in their result there. All right, Chargers 10-6 at Raiders 4-12. The Chargers are already going to the playoffs. This is just another game for seeding against a lifeless Raiders squad. 4:25 kick on CBS. Chargers 4-point favorite, over under 41.5. Very similar to like the Commanders, where it's like, all right, how much do the starters really play? Are we kind of locked into our seed potentially already? I think that's kind of why this is the number here.
Yeah, I'm going Chargers 24, Raiders 13. I was contemplating, is this the game we get that upset we talked about earlier? I don't think it is. The Steelers win on Saturday, and the Chargers are locked into the 6th seed. I do not have the Steelers winning, but it is something to watch to see how that affects Harbaugh's plan if Herbert and others play. But either way, I'm just going to ride with Harbaugh and the Chargers here. Nothing more to it than that. I think the Raiders are kind of just a dead team.
Yep. Yeah, the Raiders, I think, have actually won 2 in a row, but in the meantime, have just been harming themselves there. But yeah, I'll take the Chargers to win and to cover as well. But as we kind of talked about, another spot where do the starters play? Maybe they even just go out there, play a quarter, kind of just get some reps in. But yeah, most likely the Chargers are probably going to be that 6th seed. But they could fall down to the 7. It could be the 5 as well still. But I'll take Chargers 27-10. So Chargers -4, under 41.5. All right, 2 games left. AFC East matchup here. Dolphins 8-8, potentially playing for a playoff spot at the Jets of 4-12. 4:25 kick on Fox. Dolphins only a 1-point favorite here, over under 38.5. Definitely the weather, I think, is impacting the line in this one. A Jets team that's playing for nothing, Dolphins team that's playing for everything. They make the playoffs with a win plus a Denver loss. So they'll definitely be scoreboard watching throughout that game, but they got to still go out there and beat the Jets themselves. Do you think the Jets play spoiler and potentially upset the Dolphins here?
Yeah, this is the game that I am going with the upset. We've discussed a little bit. I also hate this game. I'm so ready for the Aaron Rodgers stuff to end. I also have not been very high on the Dolphins all year. Even when Tua is in, it's looking like he might not be able to go again this week. I'm going to go with the Jets to play spoiler as Rodgers tries to prove and show that he should be the Jets QB next year. So I'm going Jets winning a close, ugly one, 17 to the Dolphins 14. Jets +1, under 38.5.
Yeah, I think it's even more likely that Aaron Rodgers just kind of is an asshole and just tries to play spoiler here for the Jets, and basically he's might know he's not going to be on the Jets next year, so he's like, all right, let me screw up their draft pick here, and get a win. But yeah, the weather and whether or not Tua plays as well, certainly going to be something to keep an eye on. But Dolphins really struggle in these cold weather games. They were able to beat Cleveland last week, but can they beat a better Jets team? The Jets aren't great by any stretch, but definitely more talented and can move the ball a little bit better. I think, than what the Browns have shown in recent weeks. But I'm going to go the Dolphins to win barely, 24-21. So I'll go Dolphins -1 over under 38.5. But yeah, this 4 o'clock window is going to be exciting, depending, especially on what happens Saturday night with that Bengals Steelers game. All right, final game of the week, the definitely the best game of the week, maybe the best game of the regular season on the schedule. The Vikings at 14-2 at the Lions 14-2, 8:20 kick, Sunday Night Football, NBC. Lions, just your standard 3-point home favorite here, over under 56.5. Winner gets the 1 seed. Winner wins the NFC North. Loser will fall to the 5 seed and be going on the road in the first round of the playoffs. Kev, Lions have been dominant all year, been sitting pretty there at that number 1 spot for most of the season, not just in the NFC, but in the power rankings across the league. Do you think, do you think they bring it home on Sunday night and become the number 1 seed in the NFC going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm going with the Lions winning a close, high-scoring game, 37-33. So the Lions do cover the 3 they're given, over 56.5. Both of these defenses rank in the bottom 5 of passing yards per game. I really do want to pick the Vikings because I think they're a really good team, but I just can't here. I'm trusting in Dan Campbell to play his guys at home, figure it out. The Lions have so many injuries, and it seems like that's all we've been talking about in the past couple of weeks, but they just keep finding ways to win. The Lions have let up 30-plus points in 3 of their last 4 games, and I think the Vikings can definitely and will put up over 30, but however, I have faith in the Lions offense. I think they can match them, go shot for shot. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has a huge day here with no Montgomery, so I have the Lions getting that 1 seed, and unfortunately the Vikings, after a 14-3 season, only end up with the 5 seed.
Yeah, it's just insane to say that. And maybe it sparks up some discussions about the way playoff seeding is going forward and whatnot. I hope not, because then it really kind of just eliminates the facts of divisions and everything that goes involved with that. But long story short, I'm going to go with the Lions, 27-24. So Lions -3, under 56.5. I'm worried about them going into the playoffs because I think that defense is so bad and beaten up right now that anyone can pick them apart. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings went out there and put a 30 spot on them, just like you predicted. But I also think the offense is good enough that they can go shot for shot with just about anyone. But it also becomes to the point where it's like, all right, the offense might have to play a perfect game nearly to win these games. So the Lions are going to be definitely have a close eye on them throughout the playoffs. They've been getting a little bit too cute for me with all these kind of trick plays. I think one of them might come back to bite them in a playoff spot. Do they get a little too cute on Sunday night? Does Dan Campbell make some dumb 4th down decisions? Do they run any bad trick plays? That's something that's certainly going to keep an eye on, but this is going to be an awesome game. But I can't go against the Lions at home. I'll take them 28-24. So I'll go Lions -3, under 56.5. We've talked about it time and time again. The Lions under Dan Campbell and Jared Goff have just been automatic pretty much against the spread. I'll take them to cover one last time here in the regular season, get the 1 seed, and go represent the NFC there with the bye in the first round. All right, lock of the week, dog of the day, and our touchdown score parlay of the week. Lock of the week, going to go Bucks -13.5. They've been playing really well since they got a bunch of guys back from injury, playing a dead Saints team. I think that they really take control and dominate them start to finish this weekend.
Yeah, my lock of the week, I'm doubling down with you. Bucks -13.5 for all the reasons you just said. I really like Baker, and I'm really high on the Bucks.
I'm going to go Panthers +7.5 for my dog of the day. As I said earlier, I think the Falcons are going to win, but Panthers are a team that I still think is playing hard. They're not in full-on quit mode yet, like the Bears, like the Browns, like the Saints. I think that they're still playing hard for their coach, for the young quarterback, and trying to build something positive going into next year. So Panthers +7.5, and maybe as a live dog as well this weekend.
Yeah, I really like that one as well. I was going to double down with you as well on that Panthers +7.5, but I'll go a different route, go Jets +1. We already talked about it. I think that Aaron Rodgers has a decent day in a close, ugly game and plays spoiler to the Dolphins.
All right, and our touchdown score parlay of the week, I'm going with Jamar Chase at -135. T. Higgins had the trifecta last week. I think Jamar gets going this gets going early this week against the Steelers and has a big day. We saw what the Eagles were able to kind of do to the Steelers just a few weeks ago in the passing game. I think Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase connect for at least one touchdown, potentially two in this matchup on Saturday in a must-win game.
Yeah, my TD pick, I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs minus 310 against the Vikings. I said it earlier, I think he has a big day. There's going to be a lot of points in that game, and I definitely think he's going to have at least a touchdown.
I think if David Montgomery wasn't on the Lions, that we would look at Jahmyr Gibbs as the best running back in the NFL. He's just awesome, and it does feel like he scores every week. To see him at minus 310, though, is pretty insane, but he does score a boatload of touchdowns. But you parlay Jamar at minus 135, and Gibbs is now up to minus 320, but you get that at plus 128 for our TD parlay of the week. That'll do it for the regular season here on Beef Up Front. Pretty insane, but looking ahead at the potential matchups for next weekend, we could have some awesome games. Like you said, Eagles, Packers, maybe even like Ravens, Chargers again. A bunch of great games looming next week in the NFL and the wild card. And we got some great college games as well. But as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and we'll talk next week for the playoffs.